All right, ladies and gentlemen, we returned yet again. Bit of energy at the top this time because on this week's episode I got a real excitable boy, but that's all right. We'll get to him soon. It's late September in London, which means it's pretty much winter again by Australian standards. I got to wear a jacket most of the time, which is fine. I don't mind layers. I can get around that. But the whole seasonal change really gets you on the sunset because in a London summer, the sun's setting around like 9:30, even like 10 p.m. at the height of it, and then it just switches real quick. That's the thing. Like Australia is kind of like a place that's pushed all the way to the bottom of the world. It's a long way from a lot of stuff, and all the seasonal things I find are very gradual. You know, it gets hot slowly. It gets cold even slower, right? And then like the day change, apart from like actual daylight saving where you've set the clock back, it's all pretty much the same shit. But here, it just switches on you real quick. You're like, holy shit, these days are so long. And then suddenly you're walking around in the dark and you're confused. I say that because last night I tried to do like a romantic thing with my girlfriend because she finished her first job and she's about to get a new job. So I was like, hey, let's do a picnic but like at night, you know, because you can do that here. You can do like a night picnic, but it's like 7 p.m. And then I got all the stuff and I was waiting for her. Then I looked at the weather report because I'm that kind of old motherfucker now. I just check the weather occasionally just to see how things are going to be. And it was like, hey, the sun's going down in 7 minutes. Good luck, cunt. And I was like, oh shit. So yeah, basically by the time she got there, it was pitch black. And we ended up having just a picnic in the park in the dark. It's kind of weird. It felt a little homeless. Not like super homeless, but like definitely a little homeless, you know? Because it's like I'm currently just eating in the park. Like this isn't a picnic anymore. There's no blanket. We're sitting on like one of those park benches. We just kind of had like the packaging of the food strewn around because like London loves packaging food. You've never seen like I reckon in like a couple of years they're gonna have like individual grapes just wrapped in cling wrap, and that's how they're gonna sell them because they can scan them easier or something. I don't know. It's too much for me. But yeah, had a picnic in the park in the dark, but we also fed some ducks, which is also weird in the dark because you're kind of like, are the ducks gonna see this bread? And fuck yeah, they can see bread. All right. I want you to know if you ever want to feed a duck at night, the duck will be fine. You just have to overcome your own prejudices and throw the bread at the duck at night. I wouldn't say at the duck, though. I don't think they're seeing their eyes are that good. You know, you can really nail a duck with a crusty bit of loaf there. You probably don't want to do that. That's the thing. It's all changed now. It's getting back to winter. When I got here, it was like just before Christmas, so it was like right in the middle of winter. And it's just like, it's weird because like there's not really snow. They snow like a little bit just to kind of make their Christmas carols make sense, I guess. But like, yeah, not a lot of snow, and it's just 7 degrees every day. It's very same. And you just wear the same coat every day, and you take it off as soon as you get inside somewhere, and you put it back on as soon as you leave somewhere. I know to like anybody who lives in the Northern Hemisphere or like Europe, this is not exciting at all. But like for an Australian person, man, yeah, like having to wear like a proper jacket that's like warm and waterproof and shit, very unnecessary. I did not own that coat before I got here, you know? They were, like if I wore that thing in Australia in like the middle of winter at night standing in a field, I would still be sweating. It'd be too much. But it's just funny, you know, you just kind of settle into things here. Like everything kind of starts making sense, which I don't like, you know. I want to keep the Australian thing. I want to be bewildered by everything if I can. Like I remember the first thing here that really bugged me was that everything's a chain. Like, I don't know if this is the same in like, you know, Canada or South Africa or whatever, but in Australia, like there are just stores that only exist in one place. You know, it's like, it's on that street, it's that store. Yeah, it's doing pretty well and could probably open up a second thing, but it's not going to because they don't want to. They're fine in their own little place, right? They got the single cafe. It does very well. They make a good living off that, whatever, done. But then you come here and you kind of long for those places, right? I like those places. Like I like, I like both options, right? But I want like the furthest extreme of each. Like I want like that boutique cafe that like just exists in that spot, and it's by like the same people who've owned it for 40 years. Like they've resisted gentrification somehow. It's this like modern miracle, and like they're still serving the same food from like 50 years ago, and it's not very good, but it's got heaps of character. Or like it's that like, the new wave kind of gentrified cafe where like everything's like pretty cheap because like for some reason they got this like social conscience, so they keep the prices down, but it's all really, really good, and like you have to go to that place to get that. So that's like whenever you're in that area, you know that you got to check out that place. Like whenever you're in that suburb, it's like that's what I miss about being home, because I would know, like if I'm going down to Coogee, I know on the way there I'm going through Kingsford, and there's this burger joint that only exists there, like that's the only place. So if you're going through that area, you better get it, because you don't know when you're going to be going through that area again. But then like in the UK, man, it's just the complete opposite. Like everything's a chain everywhere. And like, don't get me wrong, I can get around a chain. I'm trash, man. Like TGI Fridays, going there on a Friday makes me happy. I fully admit that about myself. Starbucks, I'm like, fuck yeah. It's like £1.50 for a cup of filter, and you can refill it. I don't know if you know that about Starbucks, but you can just refill forever. Yeah. You can just sit there all day. You can own a chair in a Starbucks store for 8 hours for £1.50. That's pretty sick, right? But in the UK, it's just like all their stores, like everything, they repeat it somewhere else. The second it gets like a little bit of success, they repeat it somewhere else. I remember like when we first got in, we were living in Clapham, like just near Clapham Common, and there's like a Bodine's there, which is like this American barbecue place. And the lady whose house we're staying in, she was like, yeah, Bodine's, really cool barbecue joint. And I was like, oh man, it's so sweet that we like live near a barbecue place. Like, that's pretty cool. We'll definitely have to check that out before we move. And then we just started walking around, and there's like 17 of them everywhere across London. You don't need that much access to barbecue. But over here, they're just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, just add another one wherever. Use the same special, same day of the week. You can just have the same experience in pretty much every part of London. And it's annoying. Like, where we live now in Shoreditch, there's this good Vietnamese place, like, just up the road. And, like, it's like a proper Vietnamese place. Like the wait staff don't really care if you're there or not. I love that. That reminds me of home. Like, the food's good. It's pretty cheap. And it's got that, like, real, like, hey, there's, like, a family place to it. There's, like, shitty, like, photographs of, like, famous people who've eaten there, like, on the wall, but, like, they're not printed photographs. They're, like, A4 pieces of paper, just, like, poorly colored on there that are kind of, like, faded, and they're in, like, a plastic sleeve, which is blue tacked to the thing. Like, it's not, like, laminated or anything. It's got character, And, like, when you're eating there, sometimes there's, like, there's just, like, a lady holding a baby. Like, just this Asian lady holding an Asian baby, just, like, in the bar area where they mix your drinks. They're just standing there. And you're like, yeah, great. This is exactly what I wanted from this restaurant. And then I was down in another place last night doing a gig in Battersea, and there it was. Same restaurant, just replicated. I don't know if it's the same baby. I don't know if they share babies, or, like, if you want to be a franchisee, you got to have, like, a young baby so you can trick white people. So you can trick white people into thinking it's authentic. I don't know the system, but it just makes me sad. It's like, not everything needs to be a chain. Like, you can just have the thing in one place, and that's fine. That's enough for me. I'll travel for it if it's good, right? I'll move for it. I'll remember it being in that area. So if I'm in, like, the suburb next door, I'll go across. But English people, man, they just do it. Even this, like, trashy nightclub thing that I went to in Birmingham one time after a show, I was like, oh man, this place is like this Europa trash kind of nightclub. This is hilarious. It's called Prism. And then I was telling people about it, and they're like, dude, they're, like, everywhere. That's just like a university nightclub chain. Like, if you're in, like, a university town, like, there's always a Prism near the university, and they have, like, the same things on every night of the week around the country. And it's fucking annoying. It's like, why? How hard is it to have a unique experience here? Like, some of the pubs here have apps you can use on your phone to order with. Fuck that. I don't want an app for the pub. That's not what the pub's about. The pub is about sitting there and going to the bar and coming back. This is like, no, man, just order your drinks on the app. We'll find the table. I'm like, I don't want a pub app on my phone. I don't want a Weatherspoons app. Like if I die, I don't want people to check out my phone and be like, man, this guy probably did not have his life together. He's got the app for the pub on like the quick section on his phone. You know, that bit at the bottom where you got like message and stuff. Like, yeah, he's got the pub app there, man. This guy's a lunatic. He must have really loved curry night. I don't know. It really makes the whole Commonwealth thing make sense though, you know? When like everything that kind of went well in one place, they were like, fuck, we should do that everywhere as much as possible until it doesn't work. Like that model they've brought to small eateries is exactly what they did with the Commonwealth. They were like, yeah, this thing's going pretty well in England. Why don't we just kind of impose that on Wales? Like, you know, they're the easiest ones to conquer. Let's go to Wales. And they went up to Scotland. And that took a little bit longer, you know, because of Braveheart and shit. And they were just like, no, we'll just impose this thing here. And then, you know, they went to Europe, but they didn't really get across there, you know? Like, it's hard to start a franchise in Europe, I think. You know, they've always had their own thing going on. But they're like, fuck it. I think if we go around the world, we can find some open streets, you know? We can put some high streets in different countries. Chuck a high street in South Africa, a high street in India. Obviously, that franchise didn't last, but, you know, it was there for a while. And then Australia and New Zealand. You know, get down there. We'll just put some more English shit in these faraway places. I'm sure people will they'll be happy to not have to do the journey anymore. They'll be like, sweet, I used to have to go all the way to England to get Itsu, but now, conveniently, it's in New Zealand. That's the thing, they're not even good. I still don't get that. I'm like, yeah, supermarkets, that should be a chain. Like, you fast food, that's a chain, that's fine. But like, England is all about these like in-between fast food places that like, no, we're not just fast food. Like, we're not heap shit, we're just like a bit shit. You know, it's kind of like if a food court was the same wherever you went, and then it's even more confusing because here the food courts kind of have gourmet shit as well. It's like, you know, where food carts should just be a bunch of Bain Maries and you just kind of point at stuff and you should be able to order nachos and sweet and sour pork and like ramen from like the same place, and it's all shitty, but it can fit in the same plastic container. Whereas here, like, you gotta have like a sit down at the food court. It's all in reverse, man. I don't know. But if you're looking at like English franchise, I think the two that are most similar would probably be Australia and Canada, right? Like I think we're quite, like, obviously geographically we're not close, but like in terms of the things we kind of picked up from the UK, I think we're pretty close. You know, it's like kind of like the sports thing, the being really white. I think both those countries really hold that in high esteem, and like just we're very safe. We're like the safe Commonwealth countries. Like, you always look at those lists of like safe countries and like most livable cities, and it's just like all Canadian, all Australian. Like that's pretty much what they're working with. And like, you know, we're kind of big countries. Like, we're real spread out. And, you know, obviously Canada's like next to America, so they've got a bit more of that vibe, and like we're like a bit further away, so we got more of like an Asian vibe, because like that's where Australia is. But like, yeah, I think if you were looking for the two that were probably the closest, like I would say that like Australia and Canada are arguably closer than like Australia and New Zealand in terms of how it is as a place, you know? There's like definitely like kind of like that nature and like just that space, like, you know, where like everyone's got a car and you move around. But like the country's going quite well, right? These franchises have taken off. And I say that because today's guest is Canadian comedian Dylan Gott. Dylan Gott. I know it sounds like an American name, but he's definitely a Canadian. I checked. And yeah, like, you know, I wanted to get him on here because Dylan, he lived in London when I first met him at Edinburgh a few years ago. He'd been living over here, and then he's gone back now. He's been like, nah, had enough. He could have stayed, but he didn't want to. He was like, I've had enough of the chain stores. I've had enough of the same thing being in every high street in every city in the country. And he went back to Canada in Toronto. You gotta put the accent on when you say Toronto. You know, Toronto's like the only city where you can put the accent on when you say the country name. You don't sound like a douche. You know, if you do that thing where it's like Budapest and people are like, actually, it's Budapest. It's like, fuck you. But like Toronto, you can really get in there, I reckon. But anyway, I wanted to get Dylan on here because, like, you know, he seemed to be doing well over here as a comic. He had his career going. He had a lady with him. I think she was his girlfriend at the time, but they've since married, and they were both over here living together, like I'm doing with my lady, apart from the wedding thing. And I was like, what? Why'd you go back? Why'd you go back to Canada? And then why are you back here now? Because you just spent the last probably 6 weeks in England doing gigs and stuff. So clearly he still wants to be here for work. But what brought him back to Canada? What brought him back to the nice Australia? I think that's the main difference between Canada and Australia. You know, they seem to get this rebrand at some point. We're like, yeah, all Canadians are really nice. We're lovely, accepting people. And then like Australia, like we just get that racist thing. You go to the UK, it's like, Australia's so racist. And I'm like, what's with that? You know, we're pretty much the same country. How come they're the nice one? We're the racist one. How did that work out? But anyway, I wanted to chat with Dylan about, you know, coming to the UK, then going back home and being like, you know, what made you go back? Was it the right decision? Do you want to come back? All that stuff that I have to debate with myself, I can now debate with a stocky Canadian man. A funny, stocky Canadian man. And he's a ball of energy as well. So I'm pretty excited to chat to him. Anyway, so here he is. Dylan Gott from Canada. He's done the UK thing. And it wasn't for him. He went back. And I'm going to find out why. Here we go. My talk with Dylan Gott. Hope you enjoy it.
Recording in my...
Yeah, we're on.
Whoa, you marined it.
I didn't marinate.
We were just talking, and then he started recording.
I mean, this
it's
is
so natural.
This is the thing. We wanted to do the recording levels because Dylan has that excitable voice. You know, that voice that can just go up and then he'll like laugh directly into the microphones. This could be.
I'm just in the garage with Daniel Muggleton. He's going to talk about his anxiety for 30 minutes.
Actually, I want to interview Robin Williams, and Dylan Gott is with me. He's actually a clairvoyant, so he'll be speaking to Robin on the other side, like John Edwards, except fatter.
Robin Williams one time did comedy in Toronto at this open mic, and then later that night he hung out with the Cooks and did a bunch of cocaine, and then he came back a week later, and he was like, hey, is that show on tonight? I had a really good time. And the guy was like, no, that show's monthly. And then he was like, are those same Cooks here with the cocaine? And then him and the Cooks did cocaine again, but it was just a bit sadder.
That is a little bit sadder, but because not for the Cooks. For the Cooks, like...
No Cooks were sadder. The Cooks were like, I didn't even want to do it.
What? The Cooks didn't enjoy it?
If you do cocaine to the point where a cook doesn't want to do it with you, you've got a problem. R.I.P. R.I.P. Aladdin Genie.
That is absolutely true. If a cook looks at you and is like, man, I think you should slow down. You're just like, holy shit, I need to take stock of my life.
This 38-year-old bartender thinks you have unhealthy habits with drunk women. Oh my God.
That's like a DJ being like, I think you need to take your art more seriously. I don't think you're committing.
A fucking DJ, man.
You'd be a good DJ. You'd have that kind of Carl Cox energy where it's like, you know, it's like you're playing the set where like you're just bringing everybody down slowly so they don't get too sad, like Robin Williams.
Oh, right? That's good. No, I think if I DJ, it would just be Smash Mouth, and then people would get angry at me.
Would you consider being called DJ Gott Pingers? Because your last name is Gott, and then Pingers is the funniest word for ecstasy.
Pingers?
That's an Australian thing. Yeah, we say pingers.
Pingers.
Like pingers. P-I-N-G-A-Z. Pingers.
Pingers.
No,
I mean,
there's always some ER into it. Pingers. No, it's pingers. There you go.
Pingers.
Yeah.
There's always like some silly... I will say this. England has the most silly language.
Like, what? England has the most silly language? Or English is the most silly language?
No. Like, English colloquialisms are the stupidest things.
Please give me some examples.
An example? I mean, listen to an English person talk where they're like, oh, you call those pots and pans? We call them beepity boops. And you're like, shut up. Shut the fuck up.
I'm always
with
impressed.
Your fucking stupid language.
I'm always impressed when someone does an accent so badly that it becomes racist when the person's white, you know?
Here's a really good one.
Okay, really good one.
This one is actually
Hype it up.
Legit.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I want to feel it.
Your podcast is about to explode.
I hope so.
What do you call I don't even know how to describe it with saying the name. Your penis. What do you call the mouth?
The cock mouth?
Great.
The mouth of the penis. Yeah, the mouth of the penis. Sure.
Pee-hole.
Pee-hole. Yeah, pee-hole's good. Yeah.
Yeah. You what they call it here?
What?
You ever run of this?
Wait.
You never run of this?
Wait, we're talking Chapsai?
Japsai, yeah.
Japs? No, but it's changed to Chapsai now.
No, they say Japsai.
Still? That's a bit gross.
Everyone I've talked to says Japsai, and I'm like, that's the most fucking racist shit they've ever heard. And then here's what they say afterwards. I never even thought about it. It's like, you never thought about it? You never thought about it?
Well, I mean, look.
Oh, you're stealing. That's what we call black people feet. Oh, I never even thought of it that way. I never even thought about how horrifyingly racist. It has a racial slur first thing.
I mean, you are talking to an Australian person where, like,
That's true.
when the Pakistan
Well,
cricket
they didn't
team...
march about it.
Well, like, the Pakistan cricket team would be
Yeah.
referred to as, like, the Pakis until, like, maybe 5 years
That's
ago.
fucking terrifying.
Dude, it's weird because, as they say here, never really thought about it. But because that's not a slur in Australia. You'd never say that as a slur. That'd be weird. Like,
I get that.
I'd never yell that at anyone like it's a negative.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
guess people still say, can I bum a fag? And it's like,
Yeah, that's
you
the
know
thing
what
here.
that
I'm like,
means, though.
but everyone's like, no, but here it means cigarettes. And I'm like, no, but you feel a little bit naughty.
But you
when
like
say
this.
it. Yeah.
You like saying it.
You're not just like, look, I can't possibly think of another word to use. You're just like, I enjoy being able to say this, even though I'm a reasonable person.
You just like twirl your mustache every single time.
Yeah, it's like a tax write-off, you know? You're just like, I shouldn't be getting away with this, but I'm so clever that I am, right? Which is a very middle-class example. When you say, it's like a tax write-off, and we're both like, haha, it is. Nice. Oh, yeah, Japsai. Ugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what you call it.
I mean, that's not what I call it.
That's
all
what you
right?
name it.
I refuse to use...
I tried to call it a P earlier, and Daniel said, say it how it's really meant.
Yeah,
It's a Japsai.
in the scripting
And then he
for
took
this
his glasses
episode.
off and kissed his own headshot he has on the...
I
There's
do-
no pictures of his girlfriend. I'm in his apartment right now. There's no pictures of his girlfriend at all. There's one 50-pound voucher.
No, look, there's a picture of her right there on the fridge. See?
No, she's covered up by the 50-pound voucher. You covered her up with the 50-pound voucher.
I like
And
bargains.
then there's just all over. There's pictures of Daniel in various clothes. How he picks his outfits. He takes a picture of them and he frames them.
I mean, I was gonna say the 50-pound voucher in front of her is because I like bargains more than I like her. Obviously, that's a given. And the pictures of me are just because she prefers it this way.
That's
She
good.
prefers me to decorate with
So-
me,
How did you guys move over here then?
with bags and a plane.
But when did she decide to move over here as well?
Well, we were together back in Australia, and we were like, well, I was like, I'd like to live in either the UK or America. I was open to both. Like, as long as they speak fucking English, I could care less. And then
There you
it's
go.
much
as
easier.
long as they speak fucking English.
Yeah, fucking English. That's my favorite type of English. But yeah, the UK has the much easier visa because of that Commonwealth loophole,
man.
baby.
That's why I didn't live in the States.
Yeah, we're both the same. You're a Canadian man, I know. I mean,
10
we should,
G's, 10 Canadian $1,000.
We should say this is Dylan Gott, Canadian boy,
Ooh,
Canadian
yeah, I'm from
comedian
Canada.
man, from Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto.
Said
Yeah.
it? I said it right, right?
You don't. If you want to sound like you're from there, you don't pronounce any of the T's except for the first one. Turrunno. Toronto.
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 I mean, I like that you guys have a little. Are there different Canadian accents or just the one?
Pretty much just the one.
It's
No.
like well, obviously there's the French accent in French Canada.
Oh yeah. Well, those don't count.
That big French little accent. Do you dislike them as a group?
They hate them. Yes. It's a lit. I guess it's a bit like. I don't know. Would you do? It's close. I guess it's close to like Wales and Scotland versus England, and like all the other three that England clearly beat up in wars.
Yeah, they're just kind of like,
Who are still mad about the old wars.
It's like we lost 400 years ago and on the weekend because our football team is inferior.
Yeah, that sucks. I feel bad for that. They're constantly also losing in fun simulations of war. That's not good.
They never get to rewrite the history books in the
Yeah.
war games. You
They
know?
have to look at the page.
It's like, and here's Call of Duty where the Nazis win, and you're like, whoa, hey, this is weird.
That is one part of Call of Duty I'm not comfortable with. I'm like, why do you get to play as the Nazis sometimes?
I mean, it's so you can lose. Like you need to be able to beat them.
No, the alt-right is the thing now. You can't...
Okay.
They were like, just a bunch of people who only play as the Nazis on Call of Duty.
I mean, I think if you only play as the Nazis, that's somewhat frightening. Maybe just really like the shovel. They still have the shovel in that? I haven't played video games for a long time.
No, I didn't play Call of Duty because it was like I remember playing other video games, and it would be like, oh, play this fun first-person shooter. You're on a faraway planet, and everyone is an alien, and you get to shoot them, and they turn into fun goop. And then Call of Duty was like, execute the game plan. The kids must be killed too. They are a liability. And then they had that weird thing because they had that level where it was like you were actually bombing a town, and it like did such a really good job. The graphics were so much like. Do you ever see those CNN footage of like them bombing a town?
Oh yeah, like it's like the thing just dropping, and then like the big lighting flash up.
You did that.
And it's got the circles. Always got like the circles where it's like this is where the bomb will land.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Where it's like this is too much of a simulation. That'd be like if there was a game where it was like divorce your wife. Also, put a picture of your wife onto this screen. We'll make an absolutely perfect version of her.
And we got a side mission where you go down to the bar and talk shit about your wife.
Yeah.
Do you want to call her a whore, a gold digging whore, all of the above?
That would
Take
be
another drink. Those are your 4 options.
Take another drink. Hide the pain.
I think that'd actually be a pretty good game, like a choose your own adventure divorce game.
You constantly have to tap X so fast to hide your pain, otherwise you cry at work. I think this is a good game.
And the clock is in real time, so you got to do it for 9 hours.
Yeah. We just call it stroke. And then the guy has a stroke. No matter what, that always happens. You can't stop.
Don't always have a stroke. My dad's been divorced twice. No strokes.
Oh, how old is your dad?
67. Yeah, 67. Yeah, nailed that in the moment. Fuck yeah.
Oh, someone knows how old their dad is. You're a fucking loser. I don't even know how old my dad is.
Do you know who your dad is?
What?
Do you know who your dad is?
Yeah, he passed away when I was 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I love saying that at moments like that.
I mean, if you
Most people don't know how.
If you only knew him for 5 years, can you really know him?
Yeah, man.
Of
course, he's fucking buff as shit.
He's really strong, dad.
Yeah.
I mean that's actually the funny thing about your appearance, because like I was giving you a little Google because I met you what, Edinburgh 2 years ago. We're just both at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
Try and tap an X, try not to cry. Right, that's what we're doing.
I saw you have a breakdown, and did you see me have a breakdown?
What? When did I have a breakdown?
You didn't really have a breakdown. You were just doing new stuff at your friend's show, and it was clearly a favor, and then there were old people that weren't laughing.
Yeah.
And you were like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do whatever I want. And they were like, what? And you were like, fuck you. You started just yelling at them, and I
didn't tell them to fuck off. I haven't had one of those in a while. I've had a storm off. I did a storm off my first Edinburgh.
You did a storm. No, that was a heavy storm off. But that's what it is. For those of you listening that don't know, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, you do 120 comedy shows probably in about 30 days, which sounds like fun. It really does sound like fun. And then by day 20, when you've expected some sort of discernible gain from the whole ordeal, and it hasn't presented itself, which it doesn't to 99% of the people that go there, and do a good job. Like everyone, here's the weird thing about comedy. Everyone's just good at it. And there's no rhyme or reason. There's like, I'd say 20 people who are legitimately great, and everyone else is just very good.
Yeah.
And
the peloton is huge in comedy. Like just a massive peloton of people, and like 20 people out in front.
If there was a world war, the backlines would be comedians just dying so sad. Maybe they'll get tired of beating you up and die.
No, yeah. I mean, Edinburgh, I think Edinburgh is like, for those who don't know, Edinburgh Fringe Festival every August, it's like 25 days of just so much stand-up comedy and then like theater and other shit that we don't really pay attention to. 25 days, and you go in there being like, I'm going to do 4 shows a day. This is going to be the best. And it's kind of like if you were like, hey, I'm going to masturbate 4 times a day for 25 days in a row. It seems like you're going to be like, I'm going to be coming so much. This is great.
I would actually, I would.
I would
say
that.
It's like trying to fuck someone. You know what I mean? Where like try to fuck them for in the first 3 months, where you're like, oh, this is so hot. I'm going to fuck you all the time. And then like 2 weeks in, you're like, I really want to break, but I don't know how to tell her. And then 3 weeks in, you're like, dear God, I couldn't imagine anything worse than having sex with this woman, but it's still great. But then you come back.
And then you come out, and you're way better at fucking, but it didn't feel like that at the time.
It feels real, but you just want a day to yourself.
Yeah, you just be like, God, my dick kind of hurts. Like, can we just Can we just stop? I'm getting
Hopefully no one looks at pictures of us and is like, these guys are talking about fucking a lot. Throw this iPod in the lake.
I mean,
iPod.
As
Jesus
with
Christ.
as with Edinburgh, if only this podcast had some more female representation, and then we could really
That's illegal.
get it.
That is this is Daniel 2003 Muggleton, all right?
Daniel 2003.
Yeah. He's got spiky hair.
That was my nickname in high school. It was just a year of the past, where all my views came from.
2000. I watched The Hangover, and it was like I didn't know something would date this quickly.
Dude, things date like have you watched Scrubs again? You just kind of like...
I was never big into Scrubs. It's peripheral. Here's what I don't like.
Did you say peripheral? Like peripheral?
Yeah, sure, why not?
I
just say words.
But this is about, different Commonwealth countries. This is some Canada shit. Peripheral. Or is that just you?
Maybe. I don't know, man. That's the thing. I always worry. Like, I used to have a joke about it, but it was like part of the 9,000 jokes you have about this place is different when you come from a new place.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, people need to know.
But... I'll do things and people just think they're Canadian things. I'm like, no, man, I'm weird. Like, I'm not Canada.
But this is the thing. You're a representative of every Canadian. It's just like every black person's representative of every other black person.
Yeah.
It's like one of them's good at dancing. He's like, man, they're all fucking so good at dancing. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, man.
That's
that guy's good at dancing.
Yeah. But that's true in like this country, right? Like were you part of like the Canadian? Is there a Canadian community like a Canadians in like London kind of thing? Like any kind of vibe?
Do you mean just comedians or do you mean?
I just mean in general.
Regos?
Like just like you guys come over here and you kind of meet up and stuff.
Yeah, I mean you always gravitate towards the regular people. Like I will say this, by and large, Australian people and Canadian people, and I'd even say Irish people. Irish people are kind of guarded. Like English people are just kind of guarded.
Yeah. And
Scottish people I haven't found to be that guarded. But it's like English people are like, it's so clannish. Like it's been so clannish for thousands of years.
That they just keep amongst themselves.
They
in
just
the
keep
clan.
to themselves, and that's like legit. Like you get drunk with a Canadian or Australian person, and 75% of the time you're gonna know some weird shit about their past 3 times in the meeting.
Yeah, they're gonna tell you what their relationship with their dad is like at some point
or
throughout the evening.
Just a thing about their past.
Yeah.
And like you can be good friends with an English person and they'll like let it slip they have a brother at month 6.
Dude, yeah, that is so fucking
That's
spot
why
on.
part of the reason that my wife, because I was here with my wife, and the reason I kind of like left was...
Well, how long were you here? Let's give
I was
some
here for
cliff
2.5
notes.
years.
2.5
She was
years.
here for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you bring her over? Was that part of the deal? Or did you
Yeah,
meet
that
over
was
here?
part of the plan, was to come over and...
Okay.
Yeah. And part of the reason we kind of... Well, firstly, we were in a house share that was so cheap, but it was like also for sure affecting both of our mental health.
What are we talking? How many in the house?
I mean, the fact that so the reason I did that pause was because I was counting. That's how many people. That's all you need to know. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 people that actually paid rent and lived in the house.
And then just couch surfing.
And then the 2 of the people had partners. So that's 8 regularly. 8 people regularly in the house.
How
and
many
the house
bathrooms?
There's 2 bathrooms. They're both... One of them... So we had our lease essentially was like, you pay £250 a month for a room.
That's
exactly
ridiculous.
That is a good noise.
Just so you know, like what average London rent? 900.
Is it?
Like 800, 900, I reckon.
Yeah. So that's a third of the rent.
Yeah.
Less than a third of the rent.
And you guys were splitting that because there was 2 of you.
£125 each.
Oh,
well, she had problems finding work in her field, so it was usually me. But it was the easiest.
Right.
You know when you pay for everything but still don't feel like a provider?
Yeah.
You're like, it's buying someone a coffee and being like, you know what? I am the king of this house. We're splitting this one medium. But all right, so yeah, that was that. But then you're so close to everybody. It was like being on a night bus all day. That's the way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Because everyone would just be like so close to each other, like, well, let's get fucked up. Because that's fun, and we're all friends, right? And then we're like, okay, cool. Now I have a drinking problem, too. This is where
and then as soon as you're coming down, you remember you're still on the bus, and you're like, fuck, we need to get fucked up again right now.
Yeah,
like,
you know, people are always like, people in nice homes be like, I wish I paid that much for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you don't. Because then you live like shit.
No, see, this is the thing. We have a mutual friend, Evan, Demro, another comedian who lives in
Name drop.
Big clang on that. But no, he lived in Manchester, and he lived on like a bed in a living room that was kind of curtained.
With another person's house.
Yeah, and it had like 2 couches in the room, and then like his bed, and there was like, and I was just like, dude, you gotta get out of here.
True.
This is not, because the thing about where you live, right? I'm not saying you have to live in like a really nice place. I'm just saying that like, no one's ever woken up on a couch, run a triathlon, and then gone back to sleep on the couch, right? Like you start living a couch-based existence when you're living on a couch, because you can't exercise because your muscles get sore, and then you won't be able to sleep because you're sleeping on a fucking couch. You just got to drink a lot.
Can I be honest?
What?
I slept on my couch yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was great.
That's one night. That's a holiday.
That's true.
That's a holiday. Like when it's every day, when it's like, hey man, you know what other people use to sit for a bit? That is where you live.
You've relegated yourself to a lower form of life. But I will say this, I think that there's, no matter where you live, it's just like, yeah, there's something about just having a clean place with some space and then a set bed.
Yeah.
Even if it is a pull-out couch, just like that couch is pulled out, but goddamn it, those sheets stay on it, because I am not folding this shit back up so like some tired guy can sit on it.
I'm not like huge into like this is how you need to program your body to be productive, but like just that thing where like when you're sitting on the couch that you sleep on, your body's just kind of like, is it sleepy time? Or is it couch sitting time?
Well, that's the whole. Yeah. Well, if you want to get boring as hell, Dan, I read up on a bunch of stuff about like just like working at home.
Working at home. So these are the working at home tips.
Yeah. I took my phone out literally to go on airplane, but it looked like I came pre-prepared with working at home.
He
tips.
did. He reached into the pocket. He was like, "You want to get bored?" And he whipped his phone out, and I'm about to look at pictures of Dylan's body.
But like, no matter what, even if it's like 2 places off site, you basically have to have like an office and then like a place you chill, and then a place you only sleep, right?
So you can just separate it out.
Exactly. So even if it's just like you go to the fucking library to do work and then you go to a coffee shop to jack off to hard porn, not hardcore.
Just hard porn.
Oh, I only watch hard porn.
Really crusty magazines, very sharp laptops.
It's just hard to discern,
Yeah, I watch porn on diamonds because they are the hardest of any mineral.
There's a penis off in the distance and there's a vagina even farther away. Try and jack off to that, you perv.
Difficult porn.
Yeah.
It's just like you've actually got to just keep doing like patting your tummy and touching your head while you watch the porn.
Yeah.
You got to do the test. But okay, so you basically living in London was just not like the only cheap way. The way that you could afford to do it was just not sustainable.
Exactly.
For the thing.
Because then my wife got depressed, and then that led to a whole bunch of shit. And it was like, we're in that, what do you call that? Cycle of poverty.
Cycle of poverty.
It was good. I mean, it was good, man. Like, there's really good stuff about London, and if I could do it again, there's a bunch of stuff that I like wasn't prepared for that no one really told me about.
What, like for living in London? Like just
this is Dylan's fun tips. This is for across the board, living in a new, like if you're a stand-up, or I guess maybe this might apply to all artists, but I can only speak personally as a stand-up.
Sure.
Going to a new scene is just like, you're just gonna get tons of like disrespect in your first year, and then you'll think that's gonna end in your first year, and then it will not end. Especially if you're like me and you came from a scene where you kind of like knew everybody for a while. The best thing to do if you do stand up and you're like thinking of moving somewhere, move in like, it takes basically 5 years to ingratiate yourself to a scene. Like after 5 years, you're kind of like where you're gonna be in that scene, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So just keep on moving.
You reach your level
years.
After 5 years. So
exactly.
Just do 5 years that scene, 5 years this scene, 5 years the next scene, then just keep going back to the other ones.
Yeah, man. And you could like it could work. Like there's some people who have come over and done it super fast and gotten fucking like up to their level like super fast. But if you don't get the awards and like all the other stuff, if you're just doing sets and like slowly proving yourself, then it takes 5 years.
Right.
And then if you stay somewhere too long, like I stayed in Canada, in Toronto specifically, way too long. I was way too
How long
nervous
were you
about
there?
moving. I was there 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. So you
So like 10 to 18 to 28.
Because how old are you now?
32.
32. Okay, so you started quite young.
Yeah. I started at 18.
Oh wow. Wait, can I? So that you've come over here and you say like as an artist it's quite difficult. Did you have people that you knew?
Yeah,
like,
I had a lot of good friends and stuff. I'm not saying it's like not coming over here is quite difficult. I'm saying any new scene, any big new scene,
anything.
it's going to take.
Do you think
a while.
it was easier coming to London just because of like the similarities between Canada and
It was
England?
easier coming to London because London has like the best live comedy scene in the world, probably.
Okay, so you were like just from a career perspective. What about like a lifestyle? Like, did you look at it kind of like similar climates? Like,
No, I mean, I just kind of walked in like. I was like, oh, there's more gigs there. I'll just fucking move. Like, I didn't like take a trip over or anything. I just fucking moved.
wait, you'd never been here before you came here?
No, I just fucking moved.
Are you serious? You just bought like a
man.
one-way ticket, like to London, England.
Yeah, I was like, why not? Yeah, let's do it.
Like a
Because I was
bad
like-
start to a movie. You're just like, I'm gonna make it.
Well, it's kind of like I use this rule. If people tell me something, I just listen. So everyone was like, there's more gigs here and it's better. I was like, I guess that there's more gigs there and it's better.
I
And
should
I'm not-
go. I should go to the place with more gigs where it's better.
And like you'd see all these Canadian dudes and it's like their fucking tour schedule in Canada would be like 1 weekend headlining comedy club,
Yeah.
2 weekends
Well, that's similar.
off, 1 weekend headlining comedy club. And then you would see their schedule here and it would be like fucking 4 days a week they'd be working doing like different gigs.
Yeah. So like, I mean that seems like quite similar to Australia. I just assumed Canada had a
Yeah.
bit more going on comedy wise. Just because it's closer to America. Like I don't know. I always think like
It's
proximity.
kind of like less even because America's up there, so it's like the one recurring thing that always happens is like they'll have like theater shows for this like American dude who has like a fucking Comedy Central special
yeah.
who's like 23. And then a dude who's like 38 with kids in Canada will open for him for free. The guy also does not get paid.
Wow.
He just does it
okay.
for the credit.
That's
Oh, I just want to say I opened for you. I'm legit your dad's age.
and my dad is right here. Like
Yeah, legit. Like it's so yeah.
right. Okay.
So that's like yeah, that's
But
kind of
then
what
you
it is.
but then you still went back. You were still like despite
Well, like, you get more your money there. Does that make sense? You get more for money.
You
and
get
it's
more
like kind of
from
like
money.
regrouping.
so like what? Toronto isn't nearly as expensive as London, for example.
How would you say this? No, it can't. Things in London are just older than things are in Canada. So if
like-
you buy like a shitty place in Canada,
Yeah,
It's
that's
new.
Oh man, I know exactly
no
what you
mold.
mean. It's just like so many London apartments are like this is the apartment. It's
Yeah.
just like this.
Like, every
this
time I
thing
make a
still
new
has a
friend in
fucking
London,
candlestick. What's
your
going
place,
on there?
your place actually holds up very well. Whenever I make a new place in London, my rule was never look up.
never check that ceiling.
Yeah, if someone was like, "Oh, I pay £500 a month in rent," I'd be like, "Okay, cool," and I would like maintain eye contact the whole time. Because if I looked up, it'd be like, "Oh, there's some exposed wires. That's a strain of spider I thought was extinct. That's extremely poisonous. Fantastic."
I mean, that's not be ridiculous. There's no poisonous spiders in this country. It's a fucking joke. But the wires, baby. That's the thing. Everyone's like, Australia.
I will not have exaggerations on this comedy show.
Of course not. But I just mean, like, the wires thing is crazy to me. Like, just in Australia, if there's like an exposed
Drywall,
wire,
dude.
you walk in and you're just
Yeah.
like, what's that? And they're like, oh, we should get rid of that. Whereas in London, it's just like, what's that? It's like, that's the wire.
Yeah, it's goofy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. Hee hee. This is I'm
Yeah.
playing a joke.
No, it's real funny because, like, just, I mean, not to tell any tales out of school about our lovely landlords here, but they had like a fire alarm that was very close to the stove. And we'd be like,
Are you worried about your landlords listening to this?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so
I'll say this. I don't know your landlords. No landlords listen to podcasts.
no landlords.
I will say this.
Hey, listen to
If one landlord listens to a podcast, just an old Italian man in a fucking tank top peeling an apple listening to a podcast, I'll eat my own dick. I don't know.
I like that you
nickname.
went to make this like huge statement / joke and then bailed on it just at the end.
Eat
just
my
like,
own dick.
Got like too
I
polite
will
and Canadian
suck my
about
own
it.
dick.
Well, no, like
in front of whoever calls me out on it.
landlords listen to podcasts about Bitcoin so they can be like, yeah, this is never going to last. It's not like property.
Man, cryptocurrency was hilarious. It was like 3 weeks.
Mate, people still in.
My mother-in-law invested in cryptocurrency. No, she didn't invest in cryptocurrency and told everyone not to. And was like, but my mother-in-law is like very funny. Like she's very pushy.
Okay.
So you'd be like, hey, how are you doing? And she'd be like, don't invest in cryptocurrency. And would just go on this 10-minute, like, I have memorized all these facts about cryptocurrency thing. And you'd be like, that is very interesting.
Right, I didn't click to watch this YouTube video. What's going on?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, nice. Oh, man. Dude. But so
yeah, things are new. So you get more for your money. And
is it a better quality of life? Like, is it nicer?
It is very much better quality of life, but it's frustrating for only as a comedian is it frustrating because the population density just does not dictate a lot of good shows. There are very good shows, but like, all right, so example on London, tonight I'm doing a show on a Monday and I texted a guy, not no one will do the show, but how would you say this? The pull they get act-wise isn't like regularly guys with TV names do not come into that show.
Okay.
That's the best way
so
I can
So
describe
if you've been on TV, you won't do the show.
The base of the act is good. Like, it's all pro acts that regularly do
but they don't
material,
have credits.
But they don't have credits.
Sure.
In Canada, if one show was like that on a Monday, everyone would talk about it. If it was like regularly full, just off the street, getting pulled in like that, everyone would talk about it.
Right, it'd be like a big deal.
It'd be a big deal. They'd have fucking it'd be the show if like a fucking someone was in town doing a movie, they would do that show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. But in Canada, is there like a going out culture? Because like this is the thing between Australia and Canada, right? You guys have weather that's more similar to the UK. Like it gets cold in winter. Like you don't have the beach proximity being in Toronto. That's like landlocked, isn't it? Like in the middle, like middle bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like. I live in Sydney, Australia. And people just they're like, why would I go to the theater when I can just sit outdoors? Like
that's what the summer is like. Like the steep drop off here, dude, is fucked.
Yeah, no,
that's why when I'm coming. That's why I came over here. September's not no, I could have stayed in Canada for September, but like for fucking festival season is like kind of like May to July, and then. Yeah, August is like
you just got this
no one's touching comedy with a 10-foot clown pole.
Which is weird because in Australia in the summer people go to comedy. Like people will still check it out because they're like, this is the summer months. This is when we leave the house. Like,
really?
Yeah. Because like they got all day at the beach. Like the days aren't as long. So like, and there's not this thing where it's like, you know, in London where it gets light at like 8 a.m. and then it gets dark at like 10:30 in the summer.
Yeah.
So you just got these like hours and everyone's like, I'm gonna cash in every fucking second of this daylight.
Have you lived here in the winter yet?
I got here like midwinter, just before Christmas. So I got here at like the solstice,
That's
like
fucked.
the winter solstice.
It's fucked here in the winter.
But I mean,
there's no sun.
There's no sun. It's just like kind of grey. But like this is the thing. I come from a beach place. Like I don't need it. I'm just like this was something I took for granted. I don't really care.
Really?
My girlfriend likes the beach and shit. I think she's less into it. I mean. A little bit, but we're going to Australia in like November for like a couple of weeks, and then like I think I'm in New Zealand in like March. So
that's
like
right.
I'm just gonna cop it here and there. But I gotta take her on a like, you know, she's gonna put the word on me like, you just need to expose me to the sun for seven consecutive days sometime between December and February. All right, that's just a lock.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Australia, like that'd just be an absurd concept to be like, we just have to go find the sun somewhere. Like people put on sunscreen in Australia to walk to the shops.
So how bad is like how many clubs are there in Sydney, let's say?
Comedy clubs?
Yeah.
One?
There's one in Sydney.
5 to 6 million people, one club.
Yeah. One like regular.
But that's 3 nights a week.
How many days a week? 3 nights a week.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like there's I reckon during the week in Sydney there's like, I'm going to say generously 15 shows.
There's 15 shows
like, as in
one
15
club.
Different things. There's like a lot of bar shows. There's like a couple of kind of small little
clubs. Is that the biggest hub for just straight up stand-up?
Sydney and Melbourne probably split it. But that said, like weirdly Perth, like a place with no culture and a lot of mining money. Like that's their whole thing. Like they got a beach culture. They got a good music scene.
Okay.
And they got a lot of mining money. They have a proper comedy club that runs like 5 nights a week, I think.
5 nights a week.
Or like Melbourne has one that runs 6, but that's like a weird system where you can just kind of buy a ticket and then you can just go whenever. Like
What?
Like you can just buy like a yearly ticket and then you can just turn up. It's very strange. It's like a season pass, but it costs like I think it costs like $80, which is like, or maybe even less. It might be less, like which is like £40. And you can just go. You literally go
once.
You could go to like 300 shows for like £80. Oh, sorry, for £40. It's something crazy like that. I haven't done the proper research. I'll put it up actually in the description of the episode. I'll put up this thing for this club. It's called the Comics Lounge in Melbourne, and it's like it's really its own thing, and that's like fucked the entire rest of the city because they're just like other shows are like, can you pay entry for this? And like, what are you talking about? I can pay $40 and go see comedy whenever I want for the whole year on that $40.
And then they go so much that they see people doing the same shit over and over again. They're like, wait a minute, there's tricks.
No, they don't even go that much. Come on, what are you talking about?
Well, that's the gamble, right? It's like, it sounds like it's good, but you're not going to go to comedy like...
No, but like, if you go...
Unless you're one of those dudes who's like a serial killer and then you're going to start doing comedy.
You just go all the time. But
there's 3 in Toronto.
Yeah.
The one isn't really a comedy club.
What's the population in Toronto?
About 5 million.
So Toronto's just like kind of Sydney. But you guys are very progressive, right? This is the one thing about Australia and like Canada. You guys took this nice thing somewhere along the line.
Canada's progressive about I could do a show in Toronto where if I didn't say partner, people wouldn't talk to me afterwards, but they would be like, you should say partner and not wife or girlfriend. And then I could get on a bus for an hour and go to a place where I did a gig in a place and was an hour away.
What's it called?
From Toronto. It was called...
I want silly Canadian place names. Is it Manitoba?
Say Beaton.
Beaton? No,
Beaton.
That's less fun.
So it was in Beaton, and a guy came up to me before the gig, and he went, now, and it's all good, like with no language restrictions here. No racism, that'll make everyone feel weird. But I did check, and there's no Jews. That was an hour away from gender roles are antiquated to I checked, there's no Jews. That's
like,
1 hour drive.
I mean, it's not hard to see if there's no Jews in a comedy venue. You know.
Also, he talked to me who was like, looks so Jewish, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan's got a bit of like that bear Jew vibe, you know, just like kind of like the big Jew. Like, you know, there's like all the regular sized Jews, and there's the one big one.
Everywhere else seems to be as like an IT guy, but
no, in Canada,
man.
Look at this big Jew.
No, yeah.
But I thought Canadians were supposed to be big. I mean, like that's like if you talk about Canadian stereotypes, they're like the large, outdoorsy, bear-like people.
I guess, man. Yeah, that was the one thing about. I will say this that. Me and my now wife went through we like broke up and got back together. And when I was seeing women, it was like ridiculous how they would just, what was it? It would just like say I was like a bit, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're so Canadian and big. And I was like, go to Canada. Everyone makes fun of me. Like I'm not, you know what I mean?
They make fun of you for like being fat or like big or whatever.
Yeah, basically they were like, that's an assertion of, I don't know, man. I'm out of it.
You're out of it?
Yeah. I'm going to take my dick out. We'll be back after this.
No.
Are you throwing to break?
There's no break.
I don't know, man. Maybe we got sponsors. You take Big Money Muggleton.
No, absolutely not. We push through because this is where I'm about to break you. You know, like you've been all this bravado talking about comedy and then you like mention your wife and I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah.
So the partner thing, like it's that kind of like very skin deep progressiveness, or is it like does it actually run through? Like
it's specific gigs. Everyone
like Toronto's like the most progressive of the cities.
No, Vancouver's pretty like progressive too. Vancouver's really it's weird. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put your thumb on. Like there's a place Ottawa, it's like the capital of Canada, where everyone says, "Oh, they're really PC." So like if you do jokes about blah 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 blah, then they might not like it. But I legit saw a guy do a joke where the premise was, I should be allowed to call things gay because sometimes they're gay. You know, remember how like 5 years ago people would be like, "Oh, I call it gay," and then people were like, "You shouldn't call it gay." And I'm like, "Hey, I don't mean gay as in gay. I mean gay bad. Like gay is bad. That's why it's fine."
Of course, I mean,
yeah. So there's
you're talking to 2003 Daniel Muggleton. Like, I definitely get it.
2003 Dane Cook doing headstands, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I assume Australia's the same way. It's like
Well,
mostly a rural place, so like the city centers are cities, but then you fucking get outside the city limits, and a guy's got a shotgun, and he's gonna take whatever you got. You know what I mean?
See, that sounds exactly like Australia.
Yeah.
Do you find it weird here, like in the UK, where it's like you're in a rural area?
But they're still like people.
There's still people.
They have
yeah.
they have shirts on
There's
with buttons.
there's no singlets. Like where's the singlets at? Like
I'm sorry, sir. You're in tearaways with a fucking Budweiser shirt. Why not? You know what I mean?
it's like you watch those English.
I had a hard lesson the first time I did like a gig outside of London because I was like,
in the villages where everyone drinks cider because for some reason that's what they do. One of those.
yeah, man.
Yeah, they drink
Of course
cider.
they're all weird looking. They drink cider and don't go in the sun.
Yeah. So what was your harsh lesson? Because I was ready for like the rough
Yeah.
and rumble
Yeah.
Australia
Yeah.
style. Like, what's up, cunts? Let's go.
Yeah.
And then they're just like,
exactly.
excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Because I was like, oh, okay, cool. Rural town. I know what to do here.
Yeah.
10 minutes on, I'm like, I've got a girlfriend at the time. And then 10 minutes on, my dick is huge and I fucking nut everywhere. And then as I did one dick joke, it went fine. And then the second one, they were like, pardon me. And then the third one, it was like, my goodness. And then I said something about like, does anyone like? Because I had these jokes about how like weed makes me paranoid. That you do well in small towns of just like I get high and then I just
Is that a thing in Canada? Weed small towns, like country smoke weed.
yeah.
Right. See, I would say like in Australia, I wouldn't be the go-to. Like,
Oh, everyone grows their own weed in Canada. You're in a small town,
But
but it's like they
ooh.
think they're fucking the system, but it's like no one cares.
It's like it's straight up legal in Canada.
It's
no?
gonna be in like a couple weeks,
Right.
but like no one cares.
But no one's been arrested for weed in like.
No one's care. No, because
Like
the
for
other thing about
years?
Canada is everyone's like Canada's very progressive. Canada also is 99% white.
Yeah, I would assume. Well, actually,
They always say Toronto's the most culturally diverse city in the world. And then, oh, cool. Have you ever driven outside of Toronto? Because it is.
it's white.
Oh, buddy.
Well, Australia's very white, and we actually start off with a black indigenous population. So it's a bit.
We
it's a bit
started off
worse.
with an indigenous population as well. So
What happened to them?
let's shake hands. They were murdered.
Ah,
They were murdered, and then we put them on land that is. Have you ever seen? If anyone's out there, look at just Google Liberia, and that's the land we gave them.
Liberia.
basically. Yeah.
Okay, so is that a very awkward thing in Canada? Because is it a continuous?
One guy, Daryl Lennox, has a really good joke about it, where he's an American guy who lived in Canada for a bit, and he went, "Oh, Canadians are hilarious because everyone's like really nice, like oh progressive. Oh my god, if you're gay, you want to get married." And then you go like, "Oh, what about what you guys did to the natives?" And then you're like, well, they fucking deserved it. Like, it's just like you're like right there. It's really fucking weird.
Man, I don't like this at all as an Australian person because it just sounds like Canada is the same country. Yet,
It's the same country.
But where like in Australia, it's like these fucking crazy Australian racists who like fuck crocodiles, and then Canadians like they're so nice they smoke weed. Meh.
Well, we're next to the States, which works well for jokes if you're an English comedian.
What, just like the juxtaposition where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, Americans, they shoot guns.
It's
Canadians,
easy to
meh.
present Canadians this way.
'Cause of how
also,
close.
it's kind of like, it's kind of a bit like, no, I mean, I don't want to say all Canadians are racist or whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have a super conservative president or prime minister next.
Like soon. But
yeah, 100%. Everyone hates Justin Trudeau.
Really?
Everyone
But
hates
outside of Canada, everyone's
Yeah,
like,
he's
look
straight
at,
up liar.
look at Captain Hotbutt. This is good stuff.
Oh my God, he's so cute. Canada's doing right. Yeah, I mean, that's just fucking...
That's straight up propaganda.
You know what Canada is? Canada's like
You guys
Canada's
have the
like a
best
pop star
PR
with a
team.
lot of dark secrets and a great PR team.
Really? You guys
It's like R. Kelly in '99. Didn't he marry a girl that was 15? Who cares? Listen to that song. Didn't he pee on a girl? Ignition sick. Like no one cares.
I mean, this is so
It's illuminating.
impressive.
It
that
is.
you guys
man.
have pulled this off because I think like Australia, like we're really getting to that American level of people being like, oh fucking
But
Australia.
you guys have New Zealand
but we have
above that, so we're like New Zealand too.
But I think calling us America and New Zealand, Canada, that's giving us too much credit. Like, why not?
I agree,
Yeah.
but that's the, you know what I mean?
That's
Like, you still
the
have
same
New
thing. You still got
Zealand.
that little one that like
We're the little
we
one.
cop all the hate for them. You know,
Yeah.
like we're just the larger landmass, and they just
Like, you know, one
Okay.
thing about Canada.
What's one thing?
It's like, oh, nice. It's nice, and then there's a moose.
Well, it's very safe and livable. That's like that. We're
It is
always
very
in the
safe
list.
'cause
Like
no
the
one's
top,
there.
The top 10 list. Like it's always Australian and Canadian cities. Just the whole list is just like
Because there's tons of fucking space. If you get Canadian, there was a comedy club they tried to start in St. John's, Newfoundland. St. John's, Newfoundland. You go there. People are great. Everyone's like super creepy nice. They had a comedy club there, and it sat 200 people. And then after, like, I think the guy was telling me, the guy who owned the place, used to own the place, was saying he had to take out some seats because people were like, I'm not sitting that close to someone. So, like, there was like a 2-3 week thing where they were like getting all these bad reviews. Like, yeah, but I was like, fucking.
I was right next to this guy.
Yeah. And it would be like if you're like, you know what I mean? You go on to the tube in London and you're next to a guy. Like, your elbows you're not fucking on top of the elbows. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like a plane. You're
But-
like next to someone.
but
And people are like, this is gross.
But that's funny that even outside of London in the UK, you're just kind of like, look at all this space. Then you like come to like London where it's like a proper like there'll be someone like under you and above you in the right moment. Like they'll just be there. Like
Yeah.
where you're
And
like,
everyone's just pissed. Everyone's just fucking pissed.
I find it friendlier than Australia. I got to say, is it friendlier than Canada? Like people on the street, strangers.
No, well, here's something I had to get used to is someone bumps you and they don't want to fight you.
Yeah, someone bumps you.
They're just trying to get by.
They don't say anything.
They just fucking
What's
keep
with
on
that?
moving.
Like they just
No time. No time for
because
your bullshit.
I've had that. I've had like a guy like come like kind of straight into me like an old fella, you know. So like
Oh yeah, and they just fucking shoulder check you.
and then they
I
and
get
then
shoulder
they,
checked by girls all the time, and it's like fucking fuck off. Like I
Man, I know this isn't funny, but it's kind of funny. Like
There
my
you go.
girlfriend
You
just
beat the
gets
shit out of her.
no, she just gets shoved, like
shoved.
her going in like to and from
By
work,
you.
not by me, by other
By you
nameless
alone.
faces people. Man, an old lady shoved her just like out of the way
What?
on an escalator, just grabbed her shoulder and was like, "Excuse me," just shoved her across. She wasn't even on the wrong side of the escalator. She's just getting beaten up
She
by
just
London.
looks like a victim.
She's
She's
got a real
guilty of looking like a victim.
She's got a real
victim.
innocent face. Like, you know, there's going to be no consequences to this shoving. Like, that's just her. Because she's like so smiley and
I
stuff.
don't know, man. London brings something. Like I like it here, but it brought bad. Like me and my wife were just like about to get on the tube, and then someone like fucking just cut in front of us for some. It was a crowded tube, right?
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of those
yeah.
we were about to get on, and then someone just cut in front of us, and I called the guy a rat fuck.
Just straight into the camera, just that you're a rat fuck.
No, I got his attention. I went, "Hey, buddy, you're a rat fuck." And I like did it. Well, like we got on the tube and I did it, and then it just made it super awkward. 'Cause
So you were
everyone was
on
like,
the tube with him.
I guess this IT guy went to prison for embezzling and now is using the language.
That huge Jew has a real potty mouth.
But like the other thing is like I became really ballsy in London because I knew no one would ever punch me.
Don't you love that? I love the anonymity. I love the anonymity here. Like in Sydney, if you like have a go at someone,
You're getting fucked up.
There's potentially consequences. Like,
You're getting fucked up.
Like in Sydney, it's definitely not a given, but like there are potentially consequences. Whereas here, you can just be like, "Hey, dude, go fuck yourself," and he'll just be like, and just walk off.
Be like, I understand. Well, that's the thing. You could tell by someone's voice if they will fight you or not.
Yeah, that's why the North terrifies me because their accent totally throws
They'll
me.
punch you in the fucking face.
Yeah,
It's
but
great.
they're so nice though. They're nicer than
Yeah.
here.
But they're more space, man.
More space.
Legit, it's
that's
all
the big
boils down to
takeaway.
space.
It's just like if you have personal space, you're not angry anymore.
Exactly. No one all right, do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
One day, do the exact same thing you would do all day, and then legit case study, get your girlfriend who you love, who you decided I might spend the rest of my life with this person. Get her to be like, I'm going to say a meter away from you all day. See which day's better.
I mean, obviously, like that. Look, you make a fair point, and I do like her. You know, even when,
Yeah.
but even when we
But
hang
she's
out,
right here.
even
Like
when we
my
hang
wife
out-
is like always right here, and I always say, if you don't get away from me, I'll kill you one day.
Well, my girlfriend, when she walks, she can't keep a straight line.
What?
She like veers, like
She's got
because
club foot.
no, she's not going around in circles. But like, she just kind of veers a little bit left or veers like a little bit right. If she's not paying full attention, she's one of those people that needs to be paying full attention to whatever she's doing. Which is why in London it took her like 3 months to get used to the noise.
She has to be 100% active the whole time.
No, she just needs to be like focusing on what she's doing. Otherwise, she's going to screw it up, right? Like one time she went to like half dance in the street as like a joke and just tripped and fell because she saw like a butterfly and just like kind of tuned out for a second. It was like, just hit the ground. Like she just needs 100% focus. And it was real because like I like the big city thing. Like, I don't mind. Like I'm just kind of, I got the headphones in, I'm doing my own thing. And the other thing is I think we have to admit that we don't deal with peak hour. Like I think it's different.
180%.
When you just have to flow in and out.
180%, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but even non-peak hours are busy. That's true. I never even... Because that's the whole thing about... Some people, I'm assuming Sydney is exactly the same. Every city is like this, where people from outside the city come in for work and then leave and then hate the city. It's
exactly.
Like, of course you hate the city if your whole thing is, that's
peak
where
hour.
I work, and then people are next to my mouth, and then I leave.
Yeah, like the whole thing is you're just in traffic. Like... No. Whether that be on the tube or like in your car, like that's the one thing that I miss about Australia. Actually, just like being in a car, like just having that, because that's the space, right? The car is like your little space,
yeah.
And then you're fine. Whereas here, it's like the tube and the bus.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and
this is
that's the thing. And then it's I don't know if have you been on a gig yet where they just close down the motorway?
I've been driven like home and they've closed something, so you have to kind of go a bit further. But the thing is, like, just the distances driving here are so small.
No, man.
That doesn't
Not
hurt
if they
me.
fucking reroute you to the fucking sea. That's happened to me a couple times, dude, where it's like they rerouted me and Gary Tro to the sea. We were in Newcastle. We were driving back. That's like a fucking long drive.
That's like, what, 5? Newcastle to London?
5, 6?
5, 6, yeah. That's
Took
decent.
10. Because we rerouted to the sea.
Nothing in the UK should take 10 hours to get to.
But like,
because
they don't have the space to just close down one lane on a motorway, so they close the whole fucking thing. They're like, "Damn, man,
sorry
if you had plans to like see your dying mom, but old Jack's got to repave this shit." So
we got 4 lanes to pave. Tell Doris.
Yeah, and
see you
people
later.
complain in Canada, and I'm like, you have no idea, A, how big your car is, B, how big these lanes are. Like, I listened to another podcast where it was like this guy had to go, he was like a scout for the NBA, and he had to go scout a guy in like fucking England or in Ireland or something like that. The guy was playing in the Irish League or some shit for some reason, and he like rented a car.
That is a very unique situation. We need to go scout this NBA player in the Irish League.
Well, that's why this was right home, because he was like, so the first time, because he was all excited to go to the whatever. And I don't know if you've had this, but like, you know, you're driving with someone to a show and they're just like talking to you like they would have talked to anybody. But there's a car, from what your depth perception tells you, is going to ram right into them. But they've just gotten so used to driving in the UK that they just pass them and it's fine on a turn.
Man, I've never seen, like, Edinburgh, I think for me is like just the greatest of, there is no way you're going to get out of that without hitting a car. And they just do it like day in, day out, just like.
And they park on both sides of the street. Man, we're old men.
No, but this is what this is about. It's like the difference. Because like I
started a podcast where we talk about how streets are smaller.
But it's interesting because like you think it's going to be the same, and it pretty much is the same. But then it's just this shit that like after, you know, I've been here like 9 months now. Like you just don't even notice anymore. Like it's like I've just noticed with accents, I don't really pick them up anymore.
Yeah, man.
When I was first here, I was like, look at all these different sounding motherfuckers, and now I'm just like, you know, that's just
you don't even notice. That's the weird
just a
thing.
person.
You just don't. Your first 2 weeks are the ones where you're like, oh my god, this is different. And then you're like, yeah, I mean, that's what that is. And then someone else will come and they'll notice something super fucked up and be like, the one thing I was on for a bit was I came back to Canada for like a month, and then I noticed how I'm like, and I mind you, I do have a joke with this, but how often like dudes just piss in the fucking street here?
Yeah, that is totally fine.
It's like a fucking. There's so much piss. Like, this place is covered in piss.
Especially here. Like, I live behind, like, a major kind of going out bit.
It's just piss.
And this is just a street full of piss.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing... The other thing that I don't get here, you know...
They don't even try and hide. Like, I was telling my friend Marissa, was like... Because my friend John and Marissa came over here, and and John thought how many people just make out in public was hilarious. So
But it's because there's no privacy. Like, it's like that big city thing. It's like in New York, you see people just crying, walking down the street because they can't.
They just can't.
They can't do it in their car. You know, that's the thing.
They don't have a car.
They don't have a car. But this is like the thing that I don't get here. I don't know why they do this, because the public transport here is great. The public transport here is just awesome. And then people kind of tailgate my street. Like, people come in with their car and their buddies and they park it and they just drink next to the car for like 3 hours.
That I like a lot.
But it's just, why? Like, just...
There's some shit you can just. I think there's an ultimate city for all of us, and you just gotta pick, because like not everything's gonna be good. But one thing I love about London is that you can just fucking crack open a beer, and it's party time wherever the fuck you are, bro.
Yeah, that's obviously. I mean, you've been back in Canada for how long now? Like 7 months
since December 1st of 2017.
Yeah, so you basically left just before I got here.
Yeah.
Was anything like going back to Canada where you were just like, holy shit, or did it just like feel like home?
Going back was really nice because I got to do all the gigs that they reserve for people.
But what about your life stuff? Like, what about going into an apartment? Like, this thing's clean. I can look up. Like, I have a car
just
again.
Sports.
Any of that shit?
Yeah, just sports and friends.
But this place does sports so well.
No, it doesn't.
What do you mean? You think Canada does sports better than the UK?
Yeah.
You think Canada's like more fucking support the team, or is it just the sports they're playing? Like, you just can't get into...
the sports they're playing.
What are your games?
Just like the regular 4 American ones, where it's like no one... When I'm watching UK sports, I'm like, man, no one has to be athletic. Like, they just completely cut out athleticism from any of these things.
They've just blinded us all with this skill. The athleticism isn't there at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like, obviously football is the biggest sport in the world.
100%.
But there's no, like, one league for it, so it's just harder to keep track of.
What, like, as in who's the... Like, it's not constantly the best versus the best, because it's spread around these 5 leagues.
Yeah.
But what about the Champions League? That's exactly what that's for.
Yeah, but then... So what I'm saying is, like, there's no one league as in, like, the best players aren't localized within one league. So, yes, the Champions League is obviously the champions of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there could be for sure a player on the team that came in second in that league that would play well on this team, and then...
Right,
you know
so people are just missed out.
Which is what North American sports is like, these are the best basketball players in the world. These are the best hockey players in the world. These are the best... You know what I mean?
So
there's guys outside who can play in those leagues and just don't get the chance to for whatever reason, because politics is the thing in any
but I think that's like definitely like an American thing kind of rubbing off. Like, because in my mind I'm like, yeah, but like it's good that it's spread out because there's like more different teams. You get to see like the players switch between them and all that stuff. Whereas like I think the American thing is like, I want to see the best in every single position.
Of course I do. I want to see the highest level shit.
Yeah, you want to see like...
Which is why the World Cup's like was such an amazing tournament, because it's like it's just fucking right there.
But then like so many players miss out on the World Cup who are great because their country sucks.
But that's the highest point. You know what I'm saying? That's the highest level.
Champions League level football is higher than World Cup level football, 100%. And most people would say the club level football is like the Premier League or like maybe the Spanish League. Like that's the kind of highest over the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just because like, you know, you got to grind it out over so long. But I mean, I like American sports and stuff, but I think the English do supporting so well.
I find it so fucking obnoxious, man.
The
fucking
the
songs.
yelling and the singing.
Stop fucking singing.
There you go.
Just watch a thing.
This is some, I like this. Here we go. This is the grit
like
coming out.
Well, it's just little cultural stuff essentially that like there's some cultural stuff where you're like, oh, cool, like that's like this, and I don't care.
So you're like drinking in the street. You're like, fuck yeah,
drinking in the street,
singing,
great. Shut the fuck up with your singing.
Yeah. What about food? Like the food culture here.
I think I like it's so funny because the ingredients are better, but the like just the chef is like.
You think the ingredients are better here? You think this is better produce than back in Canada?
100%, yeah.
Whoa, dude,
no pesticides, buddy.
That is the complete opposite of Australia. Yeah, man. Australia, like, just going to the supermarket here, I find one of the most depressing things. Like,
which one do you go to?
I live in like a pretty urban like area, but
you're
like
a fancy boy.
But no. It's like it's just urban, so it's like a lot of Tesco Express, a lot of Sainsbury's local.
Yeah.
But like just walking around, I just get sad. I'm like, this is a fucking sad tomato.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I mean, you're going to Sainsbury's, you're going to like Expresses, and you know what I mean. You're going to like half stores. You don't go to like the fucking.
But it's just in Australia, just like the supermarket, because again, the space. We just got the space that every supermarket's a fucking beast. Like there's so many aisles.
Yeah, Canada too.
I've forgotten what it feels like to be lost in a supermarket. I'm like, there's only 4 fucking places things can be. You know.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like you choose. It's essentially the whole choice of moving somewhere is you're choosing. A, or do you want to try this out and maybe go back to something else? Or B, it's basically choosing like lifestyle or career. That's what it is.
I mean,
like if I move to, like let's say I moved to New York, which I mean, my wife hates New York, so that's probably not happening. But like if I moved to New York, it would be once again, I'd be choosing
career over lifestyle.
Yeah, career over lifestyle, because I know how I'm like happy without doing stand up, but also stand up is part of how I'm happy. Does that make sense?
But like I find the London lifestyle thing great in the sense like there's just kind of always stuff on. Like I like the kind of farmers markety stuff. Like I just kind of walk around, just roll.
So for my like life, it's just like shit closes too early for me here.
Shit closes too early here.
Yeah.
In London.
Oh yeah.
Dude, shit closes so early in Sydney. Like this is late night action. And I agree, it's too early for me too. I like late shit. But in Sydney, man, you can't get takeaway alcohol after 11. You can't get into a bar after...
Really?
You can't get into a club after 1. It has to close at 3. And most pubs close at midnight.
That's nuts. Everything just closes at fucking 2 in Canada.
That's great.
Across the board.
I love the late night thing.
But then it's like 24-hour diners and shit too.
Oh, 24-hour diners,
But that's the other thing was like, it's the whole culture of like, the thing that England never had is because it's such a small country is fucking the truck driver culture, which is like a lot of what the all-night diner and like everything is.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like people in the car and they're driving somewhere, like they can't get there, like in between like little gaps.
Yeah, man. Like
so
if you go out after midnight, you have to be fucked up here. You can't just like go and get a sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that
There's one all-night diner. There's one all-night diner that I found, and it was like in central London. That was like the closest to my place when I was living in South London. It was like in central London in Trafalgar Square, and for sure I would just watch some juice head punch out a guy who was just trying to eat an egg sandwich.
You were like, this is not what I came here for.
Yeah, it was just some dude getting punched in the back of the head, which is fine. Like, that's great. Trust me. I'm here for fucking dudes getting punched in the back of the head. I'm here. I live there. But... you know, sometimes I'm also just trying to have, and then it was just like you just want to fucking, I don't know. It's just like little cultural things. The thing that I missed as my life here didn't work out like kind of exactly the way I wanted it, and new challenges that I didn't see arose, I would go back. I would kind of like just complain about the cultural differences that I missed about Canada.
Right. So when you were confronted with like a kind of problem here, you were just like, but remember the American sports? Like it was all the best guys.
Exactly.
Right. But like,
it's like, you know what I mean? You don't get an audition you tried for. You're like, I'll tell you why I didn't get that audition. Because I can't get a goddamn cup of coffee after 10 p.m. If I would have had a cup of coffee after 10 p.m., you know what I mean? And then, my wife's having a hard time. So obviously that makes my wife.
Of course, that's a huge factor.
And I cannot stress enough how hard it is to have a fight in a relationship while there's a guy in a ska band in the next room.
That was the main thing. The proximity to ska.
Proximity to ska was I mean, ska's neither here nor there, you know what I mean? Like, everyone makes fun of ska because it's ska.
It's ska.
And it's funny and silly.
It's the Jew of music.
There you go, buddy. Weak. They're weak. So
some of them are big. Like real big Jew. That's my favorite ska band.
The real big Jew. You know most boxers were Jewish in the 20s?
What?
Yep.
What? Which one of them? How many of them were your grandfather?
I hope all of them.
I'm gonna keep this thing going. But yeah, so what? Just you need the space. Like you've just kind of looked at it and been like, I want that space.
I mean, long story short, legit, the reason I moved was probably like, wife didn't like it. She was we were becoming like problem drinkers. We're just like, it wasn't fun to be drunk anymore. So even if I because nothing's final in life, I could fucking move back here now that I know like. Now that I know what I like and don't like about it and kind of what to expect. But I basically left because it's like Canada was just a better move for me right now, and going home was better. If I could do it again, I would of course do it all again. I had some great times and met great people, but I don't know, maybe move in the States or something. It just
Do you think you'd find the States easier than here? Just like, I mean, because
did I find the States easier here?
Would you? Do you think
There'd be more comforts from home when I was having a rough time, but the rough time would last longer because. Like I said, I cannot stress enough how this is the best live comedy scene in the world because, and what I mean by that, to expand on it earlier, if you're a stand-up, you'll get money here faster than you would anywhere else in the world.
That's true. You do get paid quickly.
You get paid quickly, and you don't get there's still, if you're looking sideways, there's still all the same status things of like, why is that guy closing and I'm doing the middle?
Yeah.
But you're still like, even just a little thing to keep you going, like getting 50 pounds to close like a show because English people just come to live things.
They do. They turn up to stuff. They've got such a great kind of hunger
because
for it.
Because their houses suck, and that's why
their houses suck.
Who wants to stay in?
Exactly why.
Their houses are shit.
It's exactly what it is. That's why they want to go out. That's why they're always at the fucking pub because their house sucks.
Their house sucks.
I reckon the live comedy industry installed all those loose wires into the ceilings of English apartments, so they got some numbers.
Like my buddy Mike said it best. He was like, most English people's lives are. They in London are like, you take the train in, you drive your car, park at the train station, take the train in. Let's say take the train at 7, you get there 7:30. These are all fucking arbitrary, obviously. And then the last train out to your small village is at 10 p.m. So what you do is you work all day till about 5:30. You go to the pub, you have some drinks, you have pub dinner, and then you get on that train and you go. And
then you're back home, watch Great British Bake Off, wake up, do it all again.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting that way that they do just go to stuff, but also like they're just at the pub. Like the drinking culture here, just forcing you down that pub every day is absurd. Like I've never seen a pool like it. Like people like Australians drink a lot.
No, because it's like
different level.
Canadians and Australians, I would assume, drink to have fun. Yeah, it's fun. They don't drink every day. They don't drink because Friday and Saturday aren't the days where they're going to drink more. It's like, I'm going to drink tonight. It's like, I want to drink more tonight, which is so sad.
I mean, but it's great.
If you're a regular at a bar in Canada, you're fucking weird.
Yeah, whereas, I mean, that's the thing here. You're just like, no, this is my local. Like, we just kind of have one down the street just because it's there. And there's 1,000 you can choose from. In Sydney, if you wanted to find a bar near you have to kind of pick one. You'd have to walk there. Whereas here, it's just like, just stop walking somewhere. There will be a bar.
I know someone here whose dad got drunk and drove their car through the side of the pub in the village they're from, and the pub didn't charge them anything because technically their dad paid for that pub. Like, he's there every day having 5 beers.
He's put a down payment on that wall for 20 years.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like, what's it? Like, let's say 4 pounds of... I mean, that's probably a lot for a village, but like 4 pounds for a pint.
Yeah.
20 pounds a day for fucking 10 years. You bought a wall.
You bought a big wall.
And they
actually paid to fix his car. Exactly. They were like, look, man, we just need you driving here every day for the next 10 years. My kids need to go to school. All right, let's do that.
Give me your keys. You're sleeping here. Here's 4 more pints.
Right.
That's what it is. I mean, I know it's just, it sounds fucked up because like I wish I had like absolute vitriol towards this place, but it's good and bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested about... I think you've done well and just be like, yeah, people are always out. Their houses are shit. We drink all the time. And it's really cool because you can drink anywhere, which I love, but then there's no space, which is why a guy gets punched when he's trying to eat an egg sandwich. Like, I think you've actually summed it up quite well.
Yeah, man. And that's one thing. I haven't been to New York yet, so I can't do that. Like, I can't do that comparison. But
it's different to hear. This has a community feel. New York does not. That's the main difference, I think, between the UK and New York. And but I mean, maybe as a Canadian person, you find a little bit closer culturally. But like, I just go there and you're like, nah, this is just X number of people who are right next to each other. Whereas like, no, we live in London. Like here, it's like we do live in London. You feel like something. It's like, which part of London are you from? That's the thing that people want to know, so they can place you within a little London circle. You know, it's like you up, down,
London's
east, west.
A lot more like Toronto, like that. Like people move to Toronto from different parts of Canada to live in Toronto, whereas I feel like people in New York live to get something.
Yeah, they go to New York to get something, and then
they go to get something
run
from
the fuck away from New York.
And then they go like, oh well, you know, and then they like the aspect of telling people they live in New York, but also the stupid thing they're working on.
Yeah. that's probably only got legs in New York. It's like
Yeah,
Billy
man.
Eichner can't go around yelling at people in Chicago. You know, there's not enough people on the street for him to yell at. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a different game.
Yeah, people just be like, "Fuck off,
dude." Just like I'm just sitting on a bench. In New York, it's like, yeah, man, fucking talk to me. I'm on a bench. Come
Yeah,
on.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is a podcast. Let me know. I'll put my
And
Twitter
just
on there.
population density, man. Like Sydney too. If Sydney,
Sounds like Sydney and Toronto are very similar.
but if Sydney had like a huge like a really dense 6 million people in like half the amount of area, then it would also then it would have a lot more comedy clubs, just because it'd be like,
Oh, of course, on like the
something to
comedy
fucking
side,
do.
but I just mean like I find it funny because like London, I think, kind of accepts the fact that there's going to be a bit of danger, there's going to be a bit of whatever, because it's a big fucking city. There's a lot of people trying to live here. Whereas like Sydney, if someone dies, everyone freaks out.
Really?
Like, yeah. So one person
yeah,
goes.
yeah. Toronto's like that too.
One person goes down and we're like, what can we do to stop this ever happening again? And it's like, fuck, I don't
What a
know,
bunch
man.
of fucking losers.
Yeah, just like close.
Murder is fine.
No, just like close the. That's the thing. One dude died. That's why all the bars closed early. That was
What?
it. Yeah, that was the Australian government. 2 people died at a music festival this weekend on pills, and they're like, we're gonna ban music festivals. Like, it's that thing where it's like it's small enough that I think we can control it, you know. Whereas like London, it's like if 2 people
Yeah.
died, they're like, "Fuck, thank God, only 2. Great. What's happening tomorrow? How many stabbings? Let's talk. You know, that's the thing. And I think I dig that. I think I dig the bigness of it, where it's like, yeah, this is a big city. Shit's gonna happen. Like,
Yeah, there's something very, very comforting about how vast it is.
yeah, it's like it's kind of like you know, in a small place, if you fuck somebody, you know that at least 5 people in the street you're currently on are going to have a visual description of your dick. Whereas like London, it's like, mate, no one fucking knows.
Yeah, you can just move. You can move to zone 3 and no one will ever see you again.
Yeah, just move one zone. Just rotate around, like spiraling out.
Although sometimes I will run into people I don't like, and I'll be like, "This is the worst." I'm like, it's such a big city. Why do I'm running into people I don't like?
I've only bumped into someone once, I think, like straight up, and that was at the Tate Modern Art Gallery, and we just got here, and it was someone who already like lived in London, so it was like embarrassing for them to be seen just attending an art gallery in a city where they already live.
Why was it embarrassing?
Because it's just like, you fucking live there. You haven't caught it yet. Like, you've been here like 7 years. You just want to check out the Tate Modern. That'd be like in Sydney, just catching me on like the Harbour Bridge. Like, hey, how you going, everybody? I'm from Sydney. I didn't know this thing was here. Sorry. All right. Well, look, mate, we've gone long. If anything,
Good.
You'll
do the editing, right?
I mean,
This will get edited.
I think it's all gold. Personally, I don't think there's a single minute wasted.
It'll get edited. It'll get edited too.
It'll get sounded down with your fucking laugh right into that microphone. I'm just hearing it and I'm like, well, this is an error. I thought you were a quiet Canadian man. Turns out you're a big, obnoxious North American.
I'm just trying to have fun, Daniel. Okay, sorry. You say something funny, I'll just be like,
No, just it's
pleasure.
okay.
I feel pleasure. I feel a lot of pleasure from that.
How long till you're back in Canada? Because this is a whirlwind
Buddy,
trip.
next week I'm back, and then I'm back in the UK in May.
Back in the UK, mate. So like a yearly. You're on a yearly now.
Yeah,
Just popping in. Tourist visa.
Pop in. I have a working visa.
You have a working visa. Look at you.
I have a
Keeping
working
it legit.
visa. Yeah, I'll be back in May and June and August next year. If you want to catch me, if you live in Canada for some reason, all my shit's on at Dylan Gott, DylanGott on Twitter and Instagram. Just follow me on Twitter. That's the only thing anyone cares about. I don't sponsor Fit Tea or anything, so you don't need to follow me on Instagram. You get no good pics.
I mean, I think you just check out his Instagram just to get a glimpse of that huge Jew. You know, that's
Yeah,
what you
there
want
you
to
go.
do. And you got a comedy album out as well, which is nice.
Yeah, I got 2 albums. One's called Thank You I Farted, and the other one's called More Farting.
Wow,
And
double
then,
album.
And then there'll be another one called, I don't know, This Time It's Shit or something. I have another album that I don't know if I'm going to release because I'm not really happy with it.
Okay. Well, look, this is the big plug from Dylan Gott, a man who's seen London, and he's bailed.
Oh,
But
I
only
should
to-
mention this. All the albums online are $1,000, so that's probably not a good thing.
$1,000.
Yeah, I put them at $1,000.
That's actually a steal when it's in Canadian dollars.
Yeah. It's a lot like South African rand, so it's $1.
Okay, great. Good bring up with the South Africa. I love that we got actual South Africans on. I'm gonna check their rand equivalency.
It's real low.
It's real low.
I did some gigs there, and it was like, this is the greatest country in the world. I was smoking cigarettes at the time, so they were like, finish your cigarette before you get on the plane. I was like, this is
Living.
heaven. And then I went to like a shitty, like, it was just shithead, it was like just a skateboarders bar, I was told afterwards, but it was like super hip. And it was like every shot was $1. It was amazing.
Oh, that is the dream. London is anything but cheap.
Oh, it's not cheap here. So if you think it's cheap, don't do it.
Actually, just before we started this episode, this lady was just like, oh, you guys just moved here? Coffee's expensive, huh? And I'm like, you are fucking white noise as a human being. Anyway, she was filming something in my goddamn street.
They shut the street down.
To film stuff.
Daniel Muggleton doing big things.
These are the big cultural things you can expect if you want to live in London 2018. All right, thanks, Dylan. Cheers for coming down.
Thank you very much for having me.
So that was Dylan Gott, the loud laughing, big energy, big Jew Dylan Gott. Not actually Jewish, I don't think. He could be. I never actually clarified that across the episode. But I think that was interesting, man. It was interesting to see that he still clearly has a high opinion of London. But he was just like, the life that he was living here was not enough with the lady, with the real life stuff, you know? That's the thing. I think that's why a lot of comedians are single, because our quality of life is so low that it can't really be tolerated by another person who isn't delusionally chasing their dream. You know, you don't want a regular person as a mirror reflecting the ridiculousness of your own life back at you as you try to argue next to a ska band. That is something that will genuinely stick with me for a long time. Just the idea of arguing about your relationship next to a guy who's practicing his trumpet wearing one of those ridiculous ska hats. You know, that's too much. But it's cool. It was nice. It was good to finally figure out why London people are out all the time, because that baffles me. That's baffled me since I've been here. London, like, even when the weather isn't good, you know, which is a lot of the time, right? These guys have got the Stockholm syndrome happening with that shit weather. They're like, whatever, man, I'm going out. It's my choice. It's my night. And they're just out all the time. And it makes sense. It's because the houses here are grim, dude. I don't know if you've ever stayed here. I know like Airbnb means you really get to see how other people live. But generally the Airbnb is like the nicer ones. But you just go around London, there are so many houses that are just straight up depressing. And I understand why it's worth spending some time out of them, even if it costs you like £15 for a few pints every day, or like, you know, £10 for a ticket to some comedy to go check that shit out just to avoid the house for a little bit, you know? That's a good call from the Dylan. I'm glad that he was honest about Canada too, because, you know, as I said, as an Australian person, I think we get compared to Canada a lot, and I think the general comparison is like, yeah, Australia might have the better weather, but Canadians are nicer. And they're a lovely, tolerant utopia of a society. And here's Dylan being like, nah, man, we all fucking hate Justin Trudeau. Outside the major cities is just as racist as Australia. And they have guns. That's the main thing. It sounds like Canada has more guns. I guess they've got like bigger, dangerous creatures. You know, I think Australia would have more guns if spiders and sharks were fucking massive. I guess the sharks are big, but they're not on land. You know, you can't really justify buying a shotgun because you're worried about sharks. Whereas if you're dealing with like bears and polar bears and all that stuff, you can be like, yeah, I think I really need this shotgun. These things are coming up. I mean, also obviously they're like near Americans, so you got to have a gun there to protect yourself. That's just good self-management. Anyway, Dylan, very charismatic dude. Please go check out his albums. If you're in Canada, go check out a live show. Or if you're in the UK, just strap in till May next year. As he said, he'll be back. I'm going to put his Twitter and his website and all that stuff in the description of the episode if you want to hear more about Dylan Gott. And I should just give him a little plug for, he's got his own podcast, The Wrestler Review. They review wrestling, not amateur wrestling. I think reviewing amateur wrestling would be a pretty hard slog, but this is like professional wrestling, your WWEs, your The Rocks, your Stone Cold Steve Austins, and he does that with another fantastic Canadian comedian called John Hastings, who is excellent. John Hastings is one of the resident hosts of Late and Live at Edinburgh, which is like the prestigious late night drunken showcase, and he's one of the hosts there. So you know that's a hell of a ship. The Wrestler Review. You can catch Dylan on that. Other than that, guys, that's Dylan Gott. We got a little Canadian perspective with some secrets we're told. Please, if you enjoy the episode, give it a like, review it, all that stuff, and get around the Union Jackoff on Facebook at the Union Jackoff. And if you want to tell me anything that you've noticed about the UK, get in touch with my Twitter. It's all on the episode description, but just in case, at Dan Muggleton, DanMuggleton. Dylan Gott, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll catch you next week. Cheers.